Before we start today's video, I would like to reply to a comment I received on a previous video, and also make a minor announcement. So the announcement first. Today, 9:30 PM GMT, I will be covering Prime Minister's questions over on the Cthulhu-Kin and Friends show. Second, to this comment whose name I have blanked out. A child molester is a sex offender. What I did in my video was only talk about sex offenders who had abused children. I should have added that adults also sexually abuse adults. I did inadvertently cover it with the story of Ched Evans, but never made it a focal point, focusing predominantly on minors. That is a mistake I own. I hope you can do the same. So today we're going to be talking about the subject of domestic violence. I know what you're all thinking, ad-friendly. Marriage, because that's fun. But also those brides people get, either mail order or because they met them online, love them, quotes, love them, and bring them home. Because that doesn't have green card written all over it, does it? The reason for this is because of an incident that took place in Sydney. But before we get into that, I actually know a number of people who have married people they have met abroad. Those same people, I would argue 90% of them, because it's 9 out of 10, ended up getting swindled. I'm not saying this is an indicator that some will use a system, abuse a system to get a green card so that they can come to the country that they desire to go to, for example, Australia or the United Kingdom, and it is at best anecdotal evidence, because I cannot be asked to go fund a survey. But there's also a massive difference in the woman and the man, in that he is punching way above his average and she is settling for somebody way beneath her class, or visual class. Once you realise she's just using you, you realise you're the one with the class, because you are willing to give your hand in marriage to somebody. Swear an oath to love them, because love to them had a pound note attached to it. Now originally I had seen the video of this entire thing covered from the YouTube channel A Current Affair, but as I do not want a copyright strike, I'm not playing a single clip of it. I will of course link it for anyone interested. Instead we are going to go to an article by The Mirror, where it says a woman punches herself in face to frame husband for domestic violence. Faisal, from Sydney, had only been married to his wife, Asme, for 8 months when he came home to a trashed apartment and his wife missing. I feel really bad for Faisal, but at the same time when we read further into this, he is a remarkably gullible man. A man is calling on the Australian government to deport his wife after she was filmed framing him for domestic violence. How much do you hate someone that you'd want to do that just to get out of being with? Or were you trying to think of a more convoluted way to avoid the inevitable, do you actually love him? Do you love him enough to give him anal? If not, get out. I'm joking. I'm not putting my sarcasm sign up for that. Faisal from Sydney, Australia had only been married to Moroccan wife Asme for 8 months when he became suspicious she had used him to get into the country. But now it has me curious. I wonder how they met. I wonder how they fell in love. I mean, it can't be one of those things like World of Warcraft guilds or Tinder. Oh wait, the pair met on a dating site. I know what you're all thinking. Imagine my shock. He consulted a lawyer and visa expert for advice. You know who he could have consulted for free? His parents? His friends? Hell, he could have approached a hobo with an IQ over 1, and they would have all said the same thing. Yeah, mate. Looking at you? Now looking at her? Smells like a green card. I would say it smells like Australian money, but I'd always assumed the only currency they had was in metal form, and it was from smelted prism bars. Faisal told 9 News, a current affair which is linked below, that he arrived home from work and found his apartment trashed, so naturally he would have been worried that the place had been burgled. But as she was there the whole time and had been the one trashing the apartment, one can safely assume she was looking for his bit on the side, perhaps an excuse to get out of the marriage, because, you know, does anyone want this chinless guy's dick in them? I'm kidding. His wife stormed out, and hours later he was arrested for assault. So between the time she left and him being arrested, she would have had to have found a way to harm herself in a convincing way, which is quite the commitment, I think we all have to agree here, to inflict enough punishment upon herself to get the police to believe he beat her. Now, on the subject of domestic violence in Australia, I still have yet to see the reform when it comes to recognising men as victims, where there are still adverts that only acknowledge women as the victim and men as the perpetrator. And this case Granted, there was some evidence. Was still a case of listen and believe until we were able to ascertain, yes, his fist isn't that big. Now there is a video for it, but obviously I'm not playing it, so I'm going to put this picture up instead. This lady took her little teeny weeny hand and punched herself in the face until she was bruised up just enough for the police to believe that Faisal had done the damage. Now obviously when the investigation took place, Faisal had to have found a way or had been found innocent by the police, because apparently his genius wife, who was looking for any excuse to get out of the marriage, didn't notice the camera in the corner of the elevator. You have to marvel at the lengths some will go to get out of things, while simultaneously lacking any self-awareness at the same time. Faisal has been quoted as saying, "I didn't think she would go to that extent and go to the police after everything I did for her and forget everything and just ruin my life. I'm the victim now. I got used and abused over and over again, emotionally, mentally, physically, and you name it. I'm the victim. She did that, so now it's her turn to face the consequences. As she has falsely accused someone of assaulting her, she should face justice for that. In the UK we have laws on emotional and mental abuse. We have that. And there is some mention in the Common Interpretive Framework definitions in family violence legislation of those within families, so that would include marriages, for those who threat to cause physical or mental harm, but it's not anywhere near as specific as that of UK law. I also find it somewhat interesting that when I typed into Google Australian law on mental abuse, the first thing that came up was Stop Violence Against Women. Right. I get that your statistics are slightly skewed because you're not looking for male victims. Yeah, I looked at it. But come on, you've got to recognise male victims here, and this man clearly qualifies. He's a gullible fool, and he did give in to somebody that he met online. I've always held the belief that you really shouldn't invest too much into a relationship online until you've at least met each other, because I think there is an inherent risk. Long distance plays a part. You need to make sure that while you get along online, you get along in the real world, because that's not the same thing. It really isn't, no matter how hard people say it is. It really isn't. You can be comfortable talking to each other behind a keyboard or phone or an app, maybe the occasional video call, but until you've spent time around each other and got to understand that person, you don't really know them. And in this case, he clearly did not know this person enough. There was no indication in the article or the video how long they were together for before they were married, which tells me it happened quite fast. That is not good. That's reckless on his part, and an opportunity, a golden egg for, what was her name again? Asme, that's what her name was. Now since all this has happened, she has fled Sydney and is living somewhere in Australia. Lucky for her, she gets to retain her status for now. Faisal is calling on the government to send his estranged wife back to Morocco. I would not be surprised if she sought asylum, claiming that she might be persecuted if she went back to Morocco, so ended up staying in Australia anyway. It's a great idea to send someone back if they were obviously using you to get into the country, but it's unlikely she'll be kicked out, because she be lonely whammon, and you be patriarchy. Anyway, all this aside, I would love to know what you all think, so please let me know in the comments below. I hope you all have a lovely Wednesday, and please feel free to join me this evening for PMQs, and thank you all for listening.
Omegon's here? Oh, I'm on top chat instead of live chat. Oh, yes, okay, the usual. So, fact, Nothing Laura happens to be hidden in top chat, even though there's no real swear words in there. Interesting. It's interesting what YouTube will filter out on my behalf. Thought you'd been playing 7 Days to Die with the rest of them. Yes, this Omegon character is one of the reasons that I have an aversion to tentacles. Which there's like loads of pictures in here from tentacle pictures, and one of them it's even like it can never be dental floss, it's always tentacles. It's like, yeah, why can't, not that I want to be attacked by dental floss either, but I think it would be preferable to being attacked by tentacles, in all fairness. No, I haven't got an attraction to tentacles at all. They're quite just. That's all the suckers and just ew. No. No. Busy trucking. I noticed you've been you've been playing Euro Truck Simulator quite a bit, actually, to be fair. I have no idea why. Well, people obviously like it if you're still playing it, I guess, which is really strange. Oh, what are you clipping?